where were we at?
So we were saying how regret is that state of distress, you know, and being sorrowful, and especially with a loss or a missed opportunity. And Ashley hit it right on the nose, because she said that. She said, especially with a loss, regret is when you regret a failed opportunity, when you regret a loss, and when you're sorrowful for doing something, or how about this? Not always doing something, but maybe something that was said. Perhaps something that was spoken. Because, you know, sometimes we can say stuff, you know, out of frustration. We can say stuff out of anger, out of disappointment, and then we regret the words that came out.
Regret. Yes. Regret.
That's regret. And so, since we know that a lot of times those are the things that happens when we're dealing with regret, my question to you guys is, now that we identify what it is, why do we regret?
Why do we regret
the things that we either said or done? Or, you know, whether it's choices we made, whether it's things we spoke, whether it's a missed opportunity. Why do we regret these things? Anybody know? Why do we regret these things? So we said that regret, let me go back to bring everybody back up. We said that regret was a distress of your mind.
Okay, distress of your mind.
We said that regret is feel sorrowful for things that you have either done or said. Regret is also when you feel a loss.
Okay.
And regret can also be a missed opportunity. Yeah. So regret can be all of those.
Yes.
So then my question I pose to you guys is, why do we feel this regret?
Why do we feel? Why do we feel?
Why do we feel this regret?
Of the choices that we made?
Of all of it. Not just one thing, because regret is not one thing. We just said regret is a distress of mind. It's sorrowful for your choices. It's sorrowful for things that you may have spoken. It's from loss, and it's from a missed opportunity. So why would you feel regret for any of it? Anybody? What makes you feel regretful? If I take missed opportunity, maybe I'm regretful because the answer is in the question. The opportunity was missed. Maybe it's because I feel like I can't go back to recapture it. Maybe I feel like my time has passed, that I wish I would have finished school, but now at 50 years old, I don't want to go back to try to get a GED.
So it
could be a missed opportunity. So yeah, why do we feel regretful?
Yeah, it's like I made the wrong choice.
Yeah, so Mama Ann said because God warned her, but she didn't listen. So that's one reason. That's good. That's really good. Antoinette says we think our life could be better if we made another decision. These are reasons why we would feel regretful.
Okay.
Yeah, because we feel like our life could be better if we made a different decision. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with both of you guys. Anybody else? Why do you think that we all have been there? So why do you think you feel regretful? Nell says living in the past.
Living in the past. Living in the past. The past can do that.
Yes.
The past can do that.
And what's key now is that you said living in it. So many times persons, you know they're living in it because whenever something comes up, they always reference the past. They always go back and reference the past because that's where they're emotionally are stuck. And so a lot of times the regret of whatever decisions that could have been made, or they may feel like should have been made, but it wasn't made. And so that can pull on you too. So these are great answers. These are great. Now we think we should have done something better. Like Nell was saying, living in past, like Antoinette was saying, you know, could have made a better decision. Like Mama Ann was saying, you know, maybe God showing signs, warning signs, things like that. Okay, Minister Cook, hey, welcome, sir, welcome. So Minister Cook says they have a bigger relationship with their past.
Yeah.
And Curtis, he's big on a missed opportunity. Yeah, that's a big one, Curtis. That's definitely a big one, because we can't go back to get it. We can't go back to get it. And so we feel like we could have done better, but we didn't. And so we regret those choices. We regret the choices that we made, whether it was a choice that you made and got into something you wish you wouldn't have got into, or whether it's a choice that you made of not taking the opportunity that you wish you would have taken. So yes, we do. We feel those things, because you're absolutely right, guys. You're hitting on the nose. We feel like that we should have made a different choice.
Yes.
No matter what the choice is, whether the choice is I should have said no, or whether the choice is I should have reached out for that opportunity and said yes. No matter which one it is, we regret not making a different choice. Yeah, so that's what it is. Antoinette, God can use good and bad choices for his glory. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that parallels with the scripture, with the devil meant for evil, God can what? Use it for your good. He can use any situation, because guess what? God already knew the situation was going to happen. God knows everything that you're going to do from now all the way up until God calls you home. And he knew it before you were ever born. That's why scripture says that he knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. You weren't even formed yet. Before you were formed, before you had legs, toes, that the doctor could identify in your mother's womb, he already knew you. He knew what your name was going to be. He knew what you were going to do at 2 years old, at 20 years old, at 50 years old, at 80 years old. He already knew it. And because he knew it, that's why he knows how to work it out for your good, because he already knows what's coming down next. Yeah, absolutely. You're so right, Antoinette. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
And so we can't change the past. And that's what we do. A lot of times we will compare our current, a lot of times we will compare our future, our current reality with past. And when we do that, that's when we get stuck in those emotional tornadoes, I call them. And I call them an emotional tornado because you feel yourself going around, swirling around. You feel like you can't get out of that tunnel, that tornado tunnel. And so you don't want to do the comparison, you know. You don't want to do the comparison. Well, you know, if that's that thing, that big thing. If I would have just did this, then this wouldn't be like this. If I would have just made that decision, then right here would be better. If I just would have went there instead, then this would be a different way. If we can't keep holding on to the if. Okay? You can't keep holding on to the if. That's a part that the enemy uses to keep us in that regret. That's how Uncle Regret hangs on to us so tightly, because we keep replaying the if. And we can't change the if. We can't change the shoulda, coulda, woulda. We can't change that. So now we have to try to push on how to deal with regret. And so David, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I wanna, and I, you know, one of the things that I sometimes realize, I like to get down into the root of stuff, because sometimes, you know, we give church answers, you know, but I want to get down to the root, because I believe that there are some persons, some of you, probably having a hard time dealing with regret. It might not be everything, but it might be one thing in your life that you are having a hard time dealing with regret. You know, you hear all of the positive things, all of the great things to do, all of the steps to take and stuff. And you might take those steps in the beginning, but once again, regret is old school. Regret can have you thinking about them 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Why do we have a hard time dealing with regret? It's easy to be in a group setting and, you know, you listen to somebody with their problems and, you know, it's amazing that, you know, being in like Bible study, and I used to facilitate discipleship, and I used to hear someone, they would kind of share their problems, share their kind of concerns, right? And then you had the other people in the circle, they would have all of the answers to somebody else's problem. They would have all of the answers. Brother, just do this. Sister, just do this. They would have all of the answers to somebody else's problem. But when they have to deal with their own, when they get home and nobody is around, and they dealing with their own problems, the own things, the hurts, the worries, the things that somebody did them dirty. Somebody lied. Somebody did something that they should not have done to me. I regret letting them in my circle because they did me wrong. I don't deserve this. I don't trust them no more. And because I don't trust them no more, I don't trust other people coming to my circle. Because what they did to me, it affected me. Regret. Regret. I have a hard time dealing with this thing. Regret. Something in my life that I have done or they done to me. Something that I didn't control. Somebody did this to me. I regret I saw it coming. I saw this thing coming. And I regret that I didn't stop it before it got too bad.
Yeah.
I regret. Why do I have a hard time dealing with that regret? That thing that I don't talk about to everybody. It might be one person that I might share this with. But I'm going to share it with everybody. One person. And it might not be that person. That one person might be just God. I have a hard time dealing with this. Why do we have a hard time dealing with that thing that we regret?
Anybody know?
That thing.
Why do we have a hard time?
Hard time dealing with that thing that we regret.
Why do you guys think we have a hard time dealing with it? We've all been there.
We all been there.
Every last one of us.
We all been there. If you have
so if you're not there now, then reflect back when you were there.
Yeah.
Because we've all been there.
Yeah.
And when you're in that season, why do you think that it's difficult to deal with it?
Deal with it.
It is truly a struggle.
Yes.
It's truly a struggle to deal with regret. It's a struggle to face it. It's a struggle to look regret in the eyes. It's a struggle to stand toe to toe to it. It is a struggle.
Yes.
It is a struggle.
It's a struggle.
Why do you think that?
Yes. And while you give me an answer, let me see. I don't know. Mom answered. I don't know. I don't know.
We don't forgive.
You're absolutely right.
We don't forgive ourselves.
Don't forgive ourselves easy.
Easy.
We don't forgive ourselves easy.
Yeah.
Easy. I've been burned.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't know. Mama Ann, your answer is great as well. Sometimes you just really don't know. You just really don't know.
Don't know. Brother Ron said because it's out of our control. We cannot go back and make a different decision.
Yeah.
That's what regret is.
Yeah.
That's what regret. You can't go back to it.
Yeah.
You can't go back and change it. It's something. It's stuck. It's there.
And that's why it's difficult.
It's so difficult.
Because you can't go back and
you can't go back there. And it almost it's almost like you admitting that you are a failure. So almost like you admitting that you are a failure in that situation. Not in your whole life, but in that situation. What kind of affects other areas of your life. It's almost like admitting that, like, I messed up. I messed this thing up. Well, I did something stupid.
That now dictates the present.
Now that dictates life in the present.
Yeah.
What you did in the past, that decision, it have dictate life in the present.
Yeah.
And sure, we feel like we just let ourselves down, and there's a piece of life that is missing because of this mistake or this inaction of the past. And maybe that's the reason, Mama Ann, because why it feels so hard to deal with that regret, because sometimes we might feel as though that there's a piece of my life that's missing.
And Kim says that.
Because of the past.
Kim says that. She said it's a struggle because we don't like the feeling of loss.
We don't like the feeling of loss. We don't like, and I'm going to tell you like this, and just keep it to yourself. Just keep it to yourself. Because you might be sitting right next to somebody that did something to you. It could be your spouse, could be your family member. Could be something that they wanted so bad, but you didn't want that bad. And you made a decision, and then you kind of regret it. You love it because it's with them, but you kind of regret, and you're dealing with it. You're dealing with it because you're thinking about something. I could have been doing this, or I could have been doing that. I'm telling you, this thing is real. Uncle is old school. Regret. A piece of my life is missing because of this choice that I made. Regret. You know, most people, they can't let go of the past because they don't appreciate their present. It's not like they don't love their present. You can be blessed. Remember one we was in, I think, the book of the Dream Giver, and how we talked about you can be blessed and miserable at the same time. That's real. You can feel blessed and miserable at the same time. So it's not like you don't love your present. It's just that you don't appreciate it because you can't let the past go.
Mama Ann said, I don't like Uncle.
Uncle is old school. Regret.
I hate Mama Ann.
Regret.
I don't like Uncle.
I think Mama Ann want regret just to disappear. She want them to disappear. Pastor, does regret disappear?
I don't know. Let's ask them. Does it disappear, guys? Do all right, Mama Ann, she don't like Uncle. She want Uncle to go away.
She want to go. Does regret
So the question is,
disappear?
Can Uncle Regret disappear?
Can Uncle Regret disappear? Can we get rid of Uncle Regret?
Can we will it away? Like Uncle Regret, just go away. Can we will Uncle away? Can Uncle Regret disappear?
Can it disappear?
My man don't want him around, and I think a lot of us would agree to that. Let's get rid of Uncle.
Can regret?
Can he disappear though?
Can regret? What you regret? Can that just disappear? Regret. Hi, Sister Regina.
Hey,
our prayers are with you.
Yes, Sister Regina, how are you? We are definitely praying with you and for you, and all of your brothers and your sisters, your whole family. Absolutely.
So Antoinette says, it's different in every situation.
Okay.
Eventually.
Okay. My man says eventually. Ron says God gives us all agency. After a while, regret and exhausting today provides a unique opportunity to exercise the agency that God gives us. Okay. I regret not going to CDL school.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Gina
said, I think Uncle Regret can disappear if you love.
If you have the love of God in your heart.
Yes.
That's good. Kim, regret disappears only when you take inventory of your current time and accept the present. So she's saying it can, but there's some steps you have to take.
Okay.
So Kim is saying there's some steps. And so the steps she's saying you have to take an inventory of your current time.
Okay.
And accept your present. So that kind of reminds me of what you said. When you said that people can't let go of the past because they don't appreciate the present. And so I think that connects with Kim's statement that you have to be able to take that inventory and appreciate your present situation. because that's the only thing that can help you defeat Uncle Regret.
Okay. Okay.
That's the only thing, because if you continue to keep looking backwards, then you're doing nothing but help Uncle Regret get stronger. But when you start taking that inventory of your present and you start appreciating more and more what you have in front of you, then Uncle Regret is weaker and weaker. Okay. Yeah.
So what you think, Pastor? What you think? Does regret disappear?
Well, I love the answers that the saints gave. But I have to say that I don't think that regret ever really disappears. Okay. I love the answers that you guys gave, and I wouldn't take it away at all. But I would say that regret probably never really goes away.
Okay. Okay.
Now, I believe that for a temporary moment, and temporary can be as short as 2 weeks, or it can be as long as 20 years. But for whatever that temporary time frame is, I believe for a temporary moment, you don't think on it. You don't dwell on it as much. But I believe that something, whether it's something you see on TV, whether it's a conversation you're having with a friend, whether it's something you hear on radio, I believe that something can trigger that memory to come back.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And you know that so because if you find the matriarch in your family, whoever the matriarch is, someone who is well in season, I would say nobody under 65. There could be some things that they've regretted from before we were born, when they were a teenager.
Okay. Okay.
And they probably let it go and have now been enjoying life. But I guarantee you, if you have a conversation with them, they didn't forget it. They will bring it back and they can sit and share some stories because it never really left you. It never really disappeared.
Okay.
It's a part of your consciousness and your subconsciousness. And sometimes it only takes a situation to wake up your subconsciousness.
Okay. So it doesn't disappear.
So it doesn't necessarily disappear. You don't get amnesia of your regrets. You don't get amnesia of regrets and you forget all about it. You've just learned to store it away.
Okay.
And as Kim said, and you've learned to store it away because you've taken inventory, and as you said, to appreciate your present.
Okay.
So it no longer has a hold on you. It no longer controls you.
Okay.
You're able to move forward and enjoy your current reality now.
Okay. So it doesn't disappear. It stays with you. So Uncle Regret ain't going nowhere. Uncle Regret,
Mama Ann.
He's old school. Uncle Regret is not going anywhere. He's not going to. You just got to cope with him. You just got to cope with Uncle Regret. Now, you know what? I wonder if sometimes we think guilt. I wonder if we sometimes think that guilt. Well, let me ask you this: is regret and guilt, are they the same? Is regret and guilt, are they the same? Or are they different? Are they twins? Are they the twin uncles? Regret.
Some of us have twins in our family,
Yeah.
They could be twins.
Are they twins? Do they know each other? Are they best friends? Are they enemies?
Ron says no. He says guilt and
guilt.
Regret are not the same. He
They're
says
not
no.
the same. They're not the same.
Anybody agrees with Ron?
Guilt and regret.
Mama Ann believes they are related.
She thinks that they are related.
She says they are related.
They related. Those jokers know something about each other. They know something about each other because those jokers, boy, they come over your house and before it's all over, before they have left Oh, you saying, I wish I had never invited neither one of those jokers in my house because I feel terrible now. I agree with you, Mama Ann. They know each other. They relate in some kind of way. Some kind of way, guilt and regret. They know each other, but they are different. They are different.
Miss Lemon says
I think that they related. I think that they related. Kim said, I don't think they are the same. I can feel guilty about doing something, but not regret that I did it. Oh, wow. Wait a minute. Hold up. So Kim said, so Kim said, I can feel guilty about doing something, but don't regret. Oh, my goodness.
Woo, Kim.
Don't say that.
You're showing your other side,
Kim,
girl.
the pastor's in the house. The pastor's in the house. Don't. Shh.
But you know what? I have to go with Kim on that. I'm not gonna leave my girl out there by herself. Okay. I have to agree with that because I can remember.
The kissing cousins.
The kissing cousins. I like that, Curtis. I can remember allowing a coworker to get under my skin, and I can remember showing the other side that wasn't too Christian.
Okay.
And I regretted doing it. Because persons knew that I was a church girl. Persons knew that I went to church. I wasn't serving in ministry yet, but I was just faithful in my church and going to church and loving God. They knew that. So I regretted allowing that coworker to get under my skin and going off on them. I mean, I went off.
But she didn't say that.
No. Okay. No, I felt guilty of doing it. But I didn't regret doing it. I should say it. I said it backwards.
Okay.
I felt guilty doing it because I let them get under my skin, and my supervisor was so shocked because she just saw me as this nice little quiet church girl, and she was just like, Monique. And I felt so bad. I felt guilty, but I did not regret doing it because the person tried to get me fired. The person tried to throw me under the bus, and the person tried to take my project as theirs and get kudos with the big boss. Okay. So I didn't regret because I felt like I should have stood up for myself, but I felt guilty because I felt like I should have did it differently.
Okay.
So yeah. So Kim, I'm right there with you. There has been situations where I've been there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we had what? 7 seconds left. Oh man, this is good. I'm trying to get to the scripts. I'm trying to get to God's word. So let's go over this a little bit because of the internet. Okay.
Because of the internet.
Okay. So how far can we go?
Well, let's just keep it going.
Okay. So the question was, are they related? Are they the same? It's guilty and I mean, it's regret and guilt. Are they the same or different? They are different. They are different. They might know each other. They might be related. They might be kissing cousins, as Brother Curtis say. But they are different. See, guilt occurs when you do something that we know is wrong while we are doing it. Guilt is something that we know is wrong while we are doing it. And it's typically in ethical, moral, or legal reasons. We know it's wrong, and we're still doing it. You just know it. Now, regret, on the other hand, that is it's a emotion we experience when we look back on an action and feel like we should or could have done something different. When we look back on an action and we say, I could have done something different. But guilt is something we know. We know that we're doing something wrong. You just know. I feel guilty. I feel guilty. I know, because if you're doing something right, you're not going to feel guilty. If you're doing something wrong, you're not going to listen to the word guilty. When you're in a court of law, you did something wrong, you found guilty. You found guilty. So guilt and regret, they are different. They might be related. You might don't want both of those jokers in your house at the same time. In other words, you don't want them in the same house. Okay. So let's get to God's word. Let's get to God's word. Let's get to his word. We're in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 18 and 19. It says, forget, because remember, we're talking about Uncle Regret now. We've been talking about Uncle Regret the whole time, almost an hour. We've been talking about old school Uncle Regret.
Uncle Regret.
Uncle Regret. And we've been having a hard time dealing with Uncle Regret, haven't we? We're having a hard time. And what better person to call on is the Lord. Lord, help me deal with Uncle Regret.
Yeah.
Help me deal with him. The Lord tells us, he said, forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. Let's just stop right there. He says, forget the former things. Now, this is something that the Lord is telling us to do. It's not pastor, not me. The Lord is saying, he's saying, forget the former things. Now, come on, let's remember, you know how we do it in Power Ministry Outreach Center. We don't just gloss over words. What does forget mean? Because he say, forget the former thing. What does forget mean? What does that mean? To forget. To forget. Forget. He says, forget the former things. All right, Lord, you telling me to forget what?
So what does forget mean?
What does forget mean?
What does it mean?
What does that mean, to forget?
Because God is telling us. So we already know Uncle Regret is not going anywhere. So knowing that he's going to be kind of hanging around, but God is saying forget it.
He's saying forget it.
But forget the former stuff.
Forget.
The former stuff that Uncle Regret keeps trying to bring up to you, he's saying forget it.
Forget it. So what does forget?
So what does forget mean? Curtis says let go.
Let go, Ron. Move from the past, Antoinette. Let go of the pain.
Wow.
Yes, Antoinette.
Let go of the pain.
Yes. Let go of the pain. Yes.
Yep. Anybody else?
Anybody else? What does forget? Forget.
What does
it mean? What does it forget? He say forget.
Forget the former.
Forget the former. And you guys can keep on giving your answers. But forget. Forget it just, it's just very simple. It's very simple. Not to remember at that time. Not to remember at that time. You know how, you might forget something, make your way home and say, oh man, I forgot to stop at the market. I remember at that particular time. The Lord is saying, do not. He said, forget the former things. So forget means not to remember at that time. Here's the thing about research. Research stated that our brains, and Pastor kind of talked about this a little earlier, it says our brains really don't forget anything that we have heard or seen.
Yeah.
In fact, the majority of our experience are stored deep within our subconscious mind. So even if you don't remember something right away, it is still there to come back to you at some point in your life.
Yeah.
It's there.
It's there.
It's there. It's whatever you done heard, whatever you done seen, your brain does not forget.
Unless it's something traumatic.
It doesn't forget. Unless it's an illness or
something car like accident, something traumatic. Yep. Other than that,
when they ask, it doesn't forget. So God is saying, He's telling us to forget, but research is saying that our brain is something that He created. Our brain don't forget, but God is saying forget. Pastor preached the other Sunday. It says, sometimes God just don't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So if God's saying forget, but our brain is saying that your brain is not going to forget anything you heard or seen, let me ask you this. Will God remove your memories if you ask Him?
Will He remove?
Will He remove it if this thing is hard to deal with, this regret, these decisions, these things that you have done in the past,
and especially since he's telling you to forget it, so will he help you forget it by removing it?
And he created your brain saying you're not going to forget it. You probably just don't remember at that particular time. But it's stored away in the subconscious mind, and it's going to come back to you at some point in your life.
Yeah.
So can you go to God and say, God, well, you telling me to forget in your word. Help me to do it. If you go to God and say, God, can you remove this memory? If you ask him, will he do that?
I like Kim. She shared the message version, and it says, forget about what's happened. Don't keep going over old history.
Okay. So
that's good. That's good right there. I like that. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we getting some answers. Ron says no, but he will give you a vision that is greater than your pain.
So Ron agrees. Ron says no. God will not. Ron will not remove your memory if you ask him. If you're asking God, this thing that I'm dealing with, this thing that I regret doing, this choice, this pain that I'm dealing with, I
want to do your scripture says, forget the former.
Right. I want to do it, but you created this brain and mind inside of me that it doesn't forget the things that I've seen and heard. So I need your help, God. Erase this memory.
So Kim says she doesn't think he removes the memories for us to forget. She thinks he helps us to move and operate going forward.
Okay.
He won't forget, but he'll help us to move forward.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I agree that no, God, he will not remove your memories. Because your memories are part of your God-given soul, along with your mind, your intellect, your will, and your emotions. He's not going to remove it. He's not going to remove it. And if God were to remove it, then he got to remove everything.
The good and the bad.
What he got to remove?
He has to remove everything, the good and the bad. Because remember, those memories is not just a bad memory. It's connected to something else because something else followed. So and God can't just pick it like he's picking grapes off of a vine of which ones he's going to remove. If he removes something, everything else attached to it gets removed also. Because God is about doing things whole. And so for him to remove that memory, that bad thing, that regretful thing, for him to remove that, he has to remove everything attached to it. The good and the bad. And so, no, God will not remove it. As you guys have already touched on, he'll help you to move past it.
Okay.
So that it's no longer in the forefront of your mind. It's no longer something that you dwell on daily.
Right, yeah.
But now you're able to move forward.
Well, Kim dad said, her dad, he's in the house. He says he makes it easier for you
to deal
with your regrets.
Absolutely.
So God makes it easier for you to deal with your regrets. Okay, Curtis, God will always be there for us to help us get over it. Brother Nell, if we choose not to dwell,
it can be a passing thought. Yes.
Okay.
And so when God says forget the former things, he's not saying in a literal sense, because we already know it can't happen. You can't forget it. But what he is saying is that the more you give it to me, the more I can help you get past it.
So that goes into the next question, Pastor.
Okay.
So the next question, it says, if he cannot remove your memories, if God cannot remove your memories, he have to remove the whole thing. It says, then why is he commanding us to forget when we had just discovered that we really don't forget anything that we heard or seen? Why is God commanding us? He said, forget. He told us, forget the former things. Why? And that's a command. God is telling you, forget the former things. Why is God commanding us to forget when we just discovered that we really don't forget anything that we've seen or heard? So how is that possible, God? You're telling me to forget something that you know that you created that I don't really forget. So why is he commanding me to forget something that he know I'm not going to forget?
Yeah,
he says, forget the former things.
Forget the former things. I like Kim response. She says she thinks of this example. When Jesus was resurrected, she doesn't think that Jesus forgot Peter denied him 3 times, but he knew there was a greater assignment. She's saying he didn't forget all that he went through. He didn't forget Peter denying him. He didn't forget how the soldiers whipped him and beat him. He didn't forget how he was tortured. He didn't forget any of that. But he was able to move past it and still show love to them. He was able to move past it and still show love.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I believe forget is a synonym for put your faith in God and move forward.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
How do we move forward with regret? How do we? Because I love these answers. I really do. I really love these answers that we are talking about. But I'm gonna tell you. I am. I think I got saved when I was. Oh my goodness, I can't even. It was like what 1990. I think 1996. I mean, this is years ago. And I mean, I was saved, sanctified. I, got baptized. I went to discipleship, Bible study, leadership school. Here I'm the first gentleman of Empowerment Ministry Outreach Center. But I'm gonna tell you, there are some things that I do regret. They are small things, real small things that I regret. I move forward with that. I move on. The rest is fine. Move on. There's some little medium things that I've done in my life that I'm giving some thought. But there's some big things.
It still comes up.
That comes up. It still comes up. And for that moment, it holds me. Uncle had me on the ground. And he tells me, he said, David, I'm not going to let you go unless you say uncle. And I don't want to call his name because I don't want to give him power. But it got me. It had me. There's some things that had me, and I'm going to tell you, forgiveness, all of those things, all of those things I know to do.
But when Uncle Regret have you in that lock.
Go through that moment.
Yeah. Well, Uncle Regret has you in that lock.
Yes.
You feel like you can't help but to cry, Uncle.
Yes. It. So this Bible study, and I love this engagement. I really do. I love this engagement. I'm gonna tell you, there was this time when I before I met Pastor years ago, before I even met her, when I was kind of like on the beginning stages of my spiritual journey. I was out there on my own, had my own thing going, and everything and stuff like that. And then I made some choices in my life, and things took a turn, and I had to move back home with mom. And I remember, back in my bedroom, sitting down, just regretting those choices and those decisions that I made. And now I'm back home with mom. And I remember going through that moment, man. And I kept moving forward, but it was just that,
man.
How did I allow myself to get into this situation? How did I allow this? And I say all this to say that we Pastor now want to reach anyone that's really dealing with some of those regrets. This Bible study is about helping me, because I still deal with some regrets in my life. I still deal with. I am guilty. I still deal with it. So, I just love this moment that we can just get real with each other. Mm-hmm. That we can get real. The Lord is saying, forget those former things. But God, you would not remove them. Mm. You would not. But then how are you commanding me to forget when I just discovered that I cannot erase? I cannot.
So let's tell him. So he doesn't want us to keep it in the forefront, and you just said it. Mm. You just said it. That's what it is. It's not that you forget, like you will never ever remember it ever again. But he's saying, don't keep it in the forefront. Don't keep it in the forefront. Yes, that's the big piece right there.
I like that. Don't keep it
in the forefront of your mind. Yeah.
Because he wants us to overcome. And I think somebody said that he wants us to overcome. He wants us to seek that healing from the past. He wants us to seek that healing from the past hurts and the past disappointments. So like Pastor said, he don't want you to keep it. Here's the thing, to keep it in the forefront, because it's going to be in the forefront, but he don't want it to remain there.
Right.
He don't want it to remain there. So that's when he's saying, forget. Don't keep it there. Mm-hmm. Don't keep it there.
Because when it's in the forefront, now watch this. Okay? So I'm going to take my notes here I have. If this is regret, okay? This piece of paper is regret. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's nothing in front of me. Mm-hmm. If I put regret in the forefront, nothing can come in, including God. Mm. Mm. If I keep regret right here, nothing can come in, including God. Mm. Because that's all I think of. That's all I see. That's all I dwell on. That's all that I think on. I think on it when I'm throughout the day. I think on it while I'm sitting at the table eating dinner. I think on it while I'm laying down at night. I think on it as soon as I wake up, because it's in the forefront. God can't penetrate and help me because I won't take it out the forefront. But as soon as I remove it, as soon as I keep it out of the forefront, I now have given God space, and I've given him a doorway to come in. Mm.
Yes.
He doesn't want us to keep it on the forefront because he wants to help us heal. But if we keep it there to block him from getting in, we're also blocking our healing.
Yeah.